Dinomorphia is one of the best control decks you can play in this meta with the ban list with Kashtira as the best deck and branded. I think Dinomorphia has a really good spot as one of the best role decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's get into this deck profile. An optimized deck that I like to think is the best build and will guarantee you the most success at your locals and tournaments. Let's get into it. Coming up first is Dinomorphia Therizia. This is your star of the deck. On normal or special summon can say Dinomorphia trap card directly from the deck, and because of that you can set the Dinomorphia Frenzy and the domain. Also the counter traps, which are really strong in this deck because it sets it from the deck. It can't be Ash Blossom, which is pretty good. It's a level 4, it's a dinosaur, so you've probably seen where I'm going with this. In the extra deck you can make Lagia and Dolka, which is pretty impressive stuff. Because we're running a pure build, we want to see as many names as possible with the trap card fusion effect. We don't want to see them in hand. We only want to see Therizia in hand. When you don't see your engine card, you lose the game quite quickly. From there you can send a Dinomorphia monster to the graveyard. You can also send the trap cards as well, and when you combo that with Kashtira, some cool things can start happening because you can now copy trap card effects in the graveyard and interact with your opponent. This lane source is actually incredible in Dinomorphia. Because Eclipse is in the game, you're going to expect a lot of those, and people will have them in their side deck and know they can use it on your Rex, but miscellaneous will always get the job done. In a pinch, you can use this grave effect to press summon a level 4 Dinomorphia from the graveyard if you can bash enough monsters from your grave. And that's pretty much the monster lineup. I used to run heavily Lord of the Prison, but now I think this is a great ratio, and I highly recommend this skeleton for the deck. Let's move on to the trap card 3 of the Dinomorphia domain. This is the card that allows you to basically fusion summon from the deck. It can get hit by Ash Blossom, but you need 2 materials from the deck, so that's why we run 3 Diplos. And also all the normal Dinomorphia trap cards, when a card effect is activated, you can banish it from the grave and you don't take effect damage for the rest of the turn, which is pretty nice. This card can send a material from the extra deck and deck to the graveyard, which allows you to go straight into the Rexterm, which is what the deck is all about. So that's actually pretty nice. You can actually end up on a Kashtira and a Rexterm with 2k life points. Moving on, we have 1 Dinomorphia Alert. It's a great comeback card, and it's best used as a snowball effect because you can now summon Dinomorphias at the end phase and then set Dinomorphia trap cards with Therizia, and then on your turn just combo off and plus. Kashtira can also copy it. I think 1 is all we need. I wish this card got a super rate in the OTS, but I guess we'll have to wait for a few more OTS packs. Dinomorphia Brute is a classic trap card interaction. It can pop a Dinomorphia card on your field and a card on your opponent's field. Because it doesn't target as part of the cost, it's actually pretty tricky for opponents to deal with it. And of course, with Kashtira, you can copy its effect. And plus, off of all the Dinomorphia fusions, when they get popped in a Exceed dominant format with Kashtira, it's also great to pop monsters when they're about to go into a rank 7, and that's going to disrupt their plays for sure. Speaking of Dinomorphia Brute, real quick, I'm thinking of DPE as a potential package into this deck. Let's move on. We have Dinomorphia Sonic. This is basically your spell and trap negation, but remember, with the counter traps in Dinomorphia, when you take bow damage, you can banish them and then you don't lose bow damage. So that's your way of basically saving yourself when your life points are really low. So that's great to have, as you know, more than 1 copy, so at least you see them in the graveyard. It also pops a Dinomorphia monster on the resolution of the effect. Dinomorphia Reversion is probably one of my more favorite Dinomorphia trap cards, and I really believe in this one. Be able to copy the effect of any counter trap in your graveyard, which is so crazy. I don't think we've seen this on any other card in the game. To have some access, we copy the new Dinomorphia trap card, which I'm so excited to play. I think that card makes Dinomorphia a whole new threat altogether. You know, Solemn Strike, Solemn Judgment, they're basically Dinomorphia cards at this point. So we're going to run 3 of each one. If you go first, you can stop the Feather Dusters, the Cyclones, the Twin Twisters. There's a lot of pesky cards in the game that destroy back row. So of course we want to respect the matchup and make sure we play Judgment. I always say this in my deck profile. Judgment is basically Dinomorphia Judgment because it halves your life points, and that's all we care about really in the matchup. Strike is your anti-Ash Blossom card. We don't want it to resolve, so you have cards to take it out. You now have ammo in your graveyard to banish, so you can spread on other Dinomorphias. When your Dinomorphia get popped by battle card effect, it can stop a Unicorn, potentially ending their turn. Next up is 2 Fur Flames. I think everyone is running this card at this point. When your life points are so low, the opponent has no choice but to shuffle their entire field into the deck, and that's just really funny. It's kind of like the evolved evenly matched, and we're the only deck in the game that can run it, which I think is pretty cool. This can be anything, but again, as the optimized deck for this meta, Kashtira have a lot of different attributes. They can actually ruin their plan quite a bit. I want to say branded because they have a lot of lights and dark. You have 3 Pot of Prosperity. Dinomorphia is one of those trap card decks where you're always missing 1 piece of the Millennium Puzzle. So having a searcher to find that card is really good. And we also have a Fossil Date and 2 Pot of Dualities to help do that. And if we're going first, spot advantage is actually really nice because we never spread summon, and then obviously Fossil Dig can search us the Dinomorphia if we don't see it after all that searching. And then last card is Caught by the Grave. Yeah, we gotta respect the Ash Blossom. So that's been the spell and trap lineup. Again, really consistent deck. I am the kind of deck profiler who likes to add the tech cards, but after a lot of testing, after a lot of research, I think that Dinomorphia is actually reached its optimized point now. Summoning Dinomorphia Rexterm is really strong into this meta. Like I mentioned before, it's the Kashtira killer. So when you have a Rexterm on the field, they can't do anything because you're blocking them out of all their activations. He has a really great OTK effect where he turns every monster your opponent controls equal to the life points you have. And if you play Dinomorphia even a little bit, you know that this deck can go as low as even 16 life points. I don't think any deck even reaches that unless you're playing with Dragon of Ra. You go into Kashtira, then you banish Domain to activate its effect, and then you send Kashtira and another Dinomorphia from the deck to the graveyard to summon the Rex. Also have Stealth Burgia at 3 copies as well to make sure that we can have all the options when it comes to fusion summoning and the materials, which is obviously really important. Like I said before, with Solemn Strike, actually summon the Stealth Burgia so you don't pay cost to activate the effects of trap cards. Against Masquerade the Blazing Dragon, this card does not make you lose life points when you activate cards because it also overlaps with the wording. Also on the topic of Dinomorphias, Rex, Kashtira and Stealth Burgia all can spread summon a Dinomorphia from the graveyard. When they're put by battle or card effect, you don't have to banish a trap card, which is obviously really nice. Helps with the resource management. Rex can also do the same thing. It can spread summon a level 6 or lower. So you can actually go to the Kashtira or the Stealth Burgia if you're in the mid or late game. And it's probably your next best bet when you don't see Therizia to get your trap cards activated. Doka is your non-once per turn monster negation, which people always forget. And then you have Lagia, of course, the Son of Judgment. Basically, I remember when these two cards released, they dominate the format like crazy with Rescue Rabbit. And of course, Zeus is just the answer to Kashtira. Baguska is obviously one of the best exceeds you can go into because it is a very good Zeus enabler as well. Don't forget that. Evil Swap Exoton Knight is the counter control card because you might have not as many resources on the board as Dinomorphia usually does. You go to an Exoton Knight and wipe the board and trigger your Dinomorphias, which is the best part about this card. We have the Abyss Dweller as a tournament check, but also many decks in the game still revolve around the graveyard, but Abyss Dweller can absolutely shut them down. Some other considerations are of course the Psychic and Punisher. You could just call this card Dinomorphia Punisher because in the battle phase when your life points are so low, you can actually make this card gain enough attack to OTK the opponent because it might go to 10k or 8k attack. All you need is a level 3 tuner or find a level 5 one to bridge with the Kashtira. But because we're not playing any of the Ghost Sisters in this deck, I've decided to take it out. Maybe Ghost Match gets put in the side deck and we put in some hand traps like Ghost Reaper with the cherries or the Ash Blossom. Does your side deck beat the meta? Does it enable you to keep playing? Let's find out. The first card we're playing in our side deck is obviously Anti-Spell Fragrance. We even main deck this card because we don't even go into our spells as much. The opponent is siding the Feather Dusters, the Lightning Storms, maybe even Raigeki Darkhold and Dark Ruler, but of course Anti-Spell is going to be a staple in any Dinomorphia deck. Inherently, as a trap based deck, they're going to have a tough time breaking their board. So we have crazy broken cards like Evenly Matched, and then we have some other going second cards. If they want to floodgate us, we can use the Cosmic Cyclone. We also have the Dynaresta Pankatops, which is just a great generic going second card. I am just putting this in for Kashtira hate. Obviously, Kashtira is going to be the dominant deck, Pulse, Sandlist, and of course Branded as well. And usually decks that get hit by Drone Lock, but straight up flower and their turn. He also hits the Adventure Engine, which didn't get hit on the ban list. This is another card that can tie into the Pankatops thought, which is going second. Just do a bit of a beatdown, bounce cards into the hand, make your life easy as a trap-based deck so you can comfortably say your trap card. Have you played Dinomorphia? Are you playing it right now? Are you excited for the new counter trap card we're getting in Samsung Access? I know I am. And that being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.